สำหรับวิทยากรท่านต่อไปนะคะท่านเป็นผู้อำนวยการห้องสมุดประชาชนออฮุสนะคะแล้วก็จะมาถ่ายทอดแนวคิดการสร้างต้นแบบแหล่งเรียนรู้สาธารณะค่ะขอเสียงปรบมือต้อนรับมิสมาเรียออสเตอร์การ์ด Director Aarhus Public Library จากประเทศเดนมาร์กค่ะ
And thank you so much for being here. I'm like the previous speaker, I'm quite impressed that you're all here on the Sunday, and I'm especially humbled and impressed at how many young people are here on a Sunday. So that's wonderful. Before beginning, I just want to thank the OKMD for inviting me here. It's wonderful to have the opportunity to come and talk to people who are just as interested in city development and knowledge development as we are in Denmark. I'll mainly be talking to you about Doc 1, but in general what I'm saying is also true for a lot of libraries in Denmark. So I decided to call this presentation Doc 1 Public Participation Knowledge Infrastructure, because in my opinion that is actually what libraries are, and that is what libraries should be. Just a few facts. I don't know how many of you guys know Denmark. Denmark is a very small country. So we're only 5 million inhabitants in the whole country. We have, in all, in the country, we have 450 fixed library services, so that would mean library buildings, public libraries. So I'm talking about public libraries here, not university libraries or academic libraries, but public libraries. In Aarhus, which is where that little red dot is up here, that is the second biggest city in Denmark. And in Denmark, that's not a lot. It's 300,000 people, so it's quite a small city compared to Bangkok. We have 19 libraries, so as a library director, I oversee 19 libraries in Aarhus. Very different sizes, I'll come back to that. Aarhus is, right now, we're the capital of culture in Europe. And it's a very cultural city in all senses of the word. There are a lot of startups. It's a very young city. We have a big university in Aarhus, so the density of students is very high. And the good thing about being a city that is not too big is that we are very closely connected. So it's very easy to perform networks around the city with other partners or people who are not like you, because everybody knows each other. So it's very easy to do cooperative projects. Another thing that might be important also to know about Denmark in order to understand what it is that I'm trying to tell you is that the internet penetration in Denmark is extremely high. Everybody owns their own devices. Everybody has Wi-Fi. We have public free Wi-Fi almost everywhere. So that means that the whole population have gone through a shift into being digital. So all dealings with the municipality or with the state or the government is digital. You don't get paper letters anymore. You always communicate digitally. If you have kids in school, you communicate with the school online on an intranet. So everybody is part of this digital move. And the libraries have played a very big role in educating people as how to be part of this digital world, because obviously not everybody knew how to do that. So it's something that's very important when you look at what it is that we're doing. And also one last thing about that might be also important is that to know that our libraries are all connected. So that means that the collection of books and materials in the libraries we drive them around the country. So if someone in my city wants to borrow a book that's in Copenhagen, you can order it and it will be driven to your own library. So I don't have to have every book in the world in my library. I can choose which ones I want, but I can still offer the public whatever part of the collection that they want because I can drive it from around the city. So in that sense, we have a very good infrastructure in knowledge already. We have around 70% of the population using libraries in Denmark, and of course I want that to be bigger, but it's quite a satisfactory number. So I wanted to, I think something was skipped, right? Okay, I can see why the previous presenter had a bit of trouble with this one. So I wanted to take a few seconds showing you how the library has been part of the whole city development. This is the coastline of Aarhus. So in here is where the old city is. The cathedral is here. So this is the center of the old city. The coastline here used to be filled with harbor industry, like in many cities around the world. The most prominent and wonderful space in the city was blocked by harbor industry and traffic and parking. And like many other places also, the city council here in Aarhus decided that we needed to remove all this harbor industry and create this inner harbor area as a space for people. So how do you do that? How do you transform the entire way of moving in a city? People wouldn't normally go down here. It would be a place where nobody knew where to go. They didn't want to come down. This was not a space for people. So how do you transform that? Well, what you do is you place a large cultural institution, a library, down here, because that way you know that people will come from the beginning, even before the rest is finished. So this was our construction site here, and as you can see, that whole area here is being transformed into a new part of the city, a whole new space of the city. Out here is right now being filled up, and a lot of new buildings and housing is coming up. And this inner city is the one that we've been building on for 10 years and just finished, actually 12 years, just finished 2 weeks ago. The library here finished 2 years ago. So the project basically consisted of opening up of a stream so that we would have a promenade out to the water, building Dock 1 that finished in 2015, which is a 30,000 square meter large library with an automatic parking space underneath, 1,000 cars, space for 1,000 cars. And then also building two new harbor squares here. And that just finished 2 weeks ago. So you can see it's a transformation of the entire area. So this is what it came to look like once it's finished. So up there is Dock 1, and then the two harbor areas down here. So it was a way of trying to get people down to the water. And what was also crucial was that this space, which is obviously very attractive, we didn't want this to become a place only for rich people. It shouldn't only be condos that only rich people could buy, or offices so the area would be dead after 5 o'clock. He wanted this to be for everyone, a democratic space for the city. So that's where a library comes in. So the vision for Dock 1 was that it was going to be a space for cooperation. It was going to be a place for dialogue, an informal learning space, and a special place for children and families. Those were the visions for this new library. And as you can see, there is no mention of books. There is no mention of technology. That doesn't mean we don't have books and technology. We have a lot. But the point is, we did not want to construct a book depository or a building filled with technology that nobody cared about. This was going to be a place for people, just like the smart city needs to be places for people, so do libraries. So we needed to focus on the people's needs instead of the tools that we were going to meet the needs with. Dock 1 has had, since we opened, an enormous impact on how people started moving in the city. We more than doubled the visitors numbers. We have around 1.3 million visitors a year. And in a city of 300,000, that's a lot. That's way more than we ever expected. The interesting thing, though, is that our lending numbers, the number of books that people borrow, didn't go up. It sort of stagnates. For a long time, it has been dropping in Denmark. It's still dropping a little in Dock 1, but it's more flattening out. So what is it that people are coming for? Why are they there? They're not coming to borrow books. They're coming to use the physical library. And as the previous speaker was talking about the social revolution, I think he said smart government, etc. My point is that this is about smart libraries. So the library became a social revolution in itself because people come here for many, many different reasons to do what it is that they need to do. We believe that libraries are a democratic space. It is basically, public libraries are the only place in our society at least, where you meet across gender and age and political belief and religion in a non-commercial space. And for us, that is essential of what a city needs in order to be closely connected. So we need the libraries to be these open buildings because that's how we make sure that people are enabled to be capable in their own lives without having to register into a formal educational system. So there are open spaces that have to invite people in to become co-creators of the spaces and also of the community. Oh, that's interesting. Now it's going the other way around. Do you have a different pointer? Because this one is actually going pretty crazy right now. No? Okay, we'll see what we can do. Two seconds. Can I just come out here? Go there. Thank you. Okay, I'm back. So when we talk about what a library is, it's important to focus on that the library is both a place and a space for relation, a place that builds relations. So we want to make sure that libraries can do all these things, and we want to make sure that how we do libraries supports these three aspects of a library. So we have seen now that the library can become an icon. It can become a placemaker, a maker of the place in this city. It's also a space. It's a space where people meet. It's a space where they come and carry out their own things. And it's also a place where we create partnerships and corporations. And here we go again. 2 seconds. Well, not much working. Okay, I'll do it there. So the point is the previous slide that I was going to try and show you is how we are looking at libraries as mashups. So you probably all know what a mashup is, but for us we're thinking about a physical mashup. A mashup where the library space is actually a framework around many different activities that we bring into the building to meet the citizens' needs, and not necessarily something that the library carry out themselves. So we have a big partnership strategy here. We have around 120 programs a month. That's 3 to 4 a day. That's quite a lot, 7 days a week. And 60% of the programs that we're doing are carried out by partners or with partners. So someone else that we're bringing in from the city, or that they're bringing themselves in, because we're inviting people to think of what can I do in the library? How can I do a program here that supports the community or shares the knowledge that I have with someone else who are interested in it? So it's a very strong sense of ownership that this builds in a city, that there is this physical, wonderful architectural space where you can actually come and use it for your own purposes. We have a wonderful example is we have a group of fathers who are at home with their toddlers, and they came up and said, we're very bored. We're at home with our kids, we're bored. Can we come and meet in the library? And we said, of course you can, but then you have to open it up to others. So now they come every Thursday, and they have this program with toddlers, and they bring in speakers, and they play with their kids, and so they're there every Thursday. So that is an example of the community themselves creating a new service in the library that we didn't create. So we have a lot of different types of that. Okay, I'm trying again. Okay, can you shift? Just one forward. Thank you. So one of the ways the overall way that we're trying to look at how we're developing library and library visions is to focus on human-centered design. Already actually Aarhus, the city of Aarhus, the University of Aarhus have been very strong in the development of human-centered design and how to engage in that when you're a public organization. So in 2005, we decided that human-centered design or design thinking should be the number one way of developing new services and visions in libraries. So since 2003. So since 2003, we've been working on refining human-centered design and how we're engaging the public and the community into what it is that we're doing. And right now we're in the middle of, we've had a previous project together with the Chicago Public Libraries, funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, where we developed a toolkit for libraries in terms of design thinking. And we're right now in another project also supported by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation of how to spread that out in the world and teach other libraries around the world to work with design thinking. So it's something that is in our DNA now. Okay, I'm giving up. Can you enhance? Thank you. So you can say that we've been going from a very traditional citizens' involvement where most of the involvement in the city have been about hearings, like very formal, you guys sit here, I stand here, I tell you something and then you're informed. And then we're changing it into a more a citizens' cooperation, co-production with citizens, co-creation. So on this ladder of participation, it's actually a very old model from 1969. So where usually we would traditionally be around down there with informing and consultation, the libraries are now moving up, and also the city, towards delegating power to citizens and forming partnerships with citizens. So it's a very big move that's happening not only in the libraries, but also in the city government. Right, so when the title was about knowledge infrastructure, I also meant that very physically, because this is the black part here is Aarhus, the city of Aarhus, and as you can see, we have the libraries spread out throughout the entire city. Different sizes, some libraries they're open 7 days a week, but they're only staffed 2 days a week. So that means if you have a library card, you swipe it and then you enter the building and you can use it on your own without staff. And then we have the big ones, and Dock 1 is the biggest, where we are open 7 days a week. We have staff from 10 to 7, but from 8 till 10 in the evening, you can use the building. So you can just go in and use the building from 7 o'clock until 10 o'clock in the evening. We don't have staff on the facilities, but you can use the library for your own purposes. So using these buildings, we've actually been able to create a Wi-Fi infrastructure in the city so that every public building in the city has Wi-Fi. So we now have free access to Wi-Fi around these areas. So, and you can see how largely that has spread. We're also, and that was also based in the library, the first to create an open data platform that is run by the library. So we are collecting open data from all the many transactions that are happening around the city, putting them into an open data well so that everybody can subtract data out and create new services around them. So that way we have a lot of startup companies that uses these data to create new apps or new services that they can go out and sell, or also we're using it to help people of the community, the citizens, actually understand how it is that data are being used today. Because that's something that nobody knows anything about. Normal people, you guys know this because you're all educated and you're all part of some data revolution. But a lot of people don't realize how much data are collected every single day. And even if they knew, they would have no clue as in how to interact with this. So that is something that the libraries are doing a very big effort in trying to communicate to people and keep them and make them able to engage in this. So we're right now, the Dock 1 is down here, and then there's this urban square. This we're transforming into a livable city lab. It has Wi-Fi, it has LoRaWAN, it has open data, open source, and so we're using this city space as a test bed for a lot of different tests with the community, with citizens, on how are we interacting with each other, how are we making allowing citizens to actually put their fingerprint on what is happening in the physical urban spaces. So that's a very bottom-up format that we're engaging in, and it's going to be super interesting to see how people are engaging into it. But in a city like ours, people are accustomed to being asked their opinion. They're accustomed to being able to influence. So they expect possibilities to influence what's going on. So this was a lot of talk about buildings and internet and etc. So I want to show you a small film with it's one of my colleagues she's called a library transformer. We have 2 of those in our library that is going to try and show you around Dock 1.
Dock 1 is the new library and citizen service here in Aarhus, but it's so much more than just a library. It's an innovation hub for the city, for the citizens. We have a lot of startups, a lot of students coming here to work on their ideas, figuring out new solutions for the future. So this is a space with lots of activities for gaming and plays and workshops for children and families. We have a lot of events out here in the open space. We have startup fairs, maker fairs, debates. We have movie nights, art shows, exhibitions. Dock 1 also uses new technologies for some of the most basic functions. This is, for example, the robotic book return, and underneath the building we also have Europe's largest robotic car park. This is the gong, and it can be triggered from the maternity ward here in Aarhus. So every time a new child is born out there, it gongs here in the library and everyone knows that a new citizen is born. So this is just another exciting way that the city is connected. So with a grant from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the libraries here in Aarhus also help libraries all over the world accelerate innovation and become better at meeting the needs of the users in their community.
Right, so you can see a lot of things going on in the open spaces, and that's how we want it. We don't want the activities tucked into a secluded area that is soundproof. We want it out in the open spaces so that people can actually be engaged, be inspired, and see that libraries are something different than they actually expected it to be. Can you put on the last slide in my presentation? So I just wanted to say that for us, libraries are something that is about creating meaning together instead of you coming in and being on your own or us trying to convince you about something. So it is really a space where we co-create. So I hope you all would like to come to Denmark. If you want to, please let us know and we'd be happy to engage with you. Thank you.
ขอบคุณให้กับคุณมาเรียออสเตอร์การ์ดนะคะเห็นอย่างนี้แล้วทำให้การนั่งจุกๆออกมาของสู้ชิงกลายเป็นเรื่องง่ายไปเลยนะคะ เป็นวิดีโอที่หาดูได้ยากนิดนึงแต่ว่าเนื้อหาอัดแน่นจริงๆนะคะพอฟังแล้วทำให้รู้สึกเข้าใจเลยค่ะว่าทำไมคนเดนมาร์กถึงได้มีสถิติของการไปใช้ห้องสมุดสาธารณะกันเยอะขนาดนี้นะคะแล้วก็เราได้เห็นถึงความพยายามในการที่จะเข้าถึงคนไม่ว่าจะเป็นคนในสถานะหรือว่าฐานะแบบไหนนะคะให้มาใช้บริการที่ห้องสมุดโดยที่ไม่จำเป็นจะต้องโฆษณาถึงการมีหนังสือหรือการใช้เทคโนโลยีที่ระดับขั้นแอดวานซ์เลยนะคะเพราะว่าทั้งหมดนี้ให้ความสำคัญกับการที่จะเชื่อมโยงพูดคุยกับคนได้ซึ่งก็เป็นเมสเสจที่ใกล้เคียงกันนะคะกับการที่วิทยากรท่านแรกดร.จองซุงฮวานของเราเนี่ยก็ได้บอกไปแล้วว่า Smart City หรือการพัฒนาเมืองควรจะทำเพื่อประชาชนค่ะนั่นก็คือมิสมาเรียออสเตอร์การ์ดนะคะ